Hi everyone, it's me, Crafty Witch, and welcome back to my channel. So it's fall again. Thought I would do another video about preparation. I've done videos about this, being prepared for fall, doing an inventory, that kind of thing. And I think it's really important because if I think if folks would have done this last fall, they would have been okay at the start of our year when this global pandemic hit. They would have been, I think a lot of folks would have been okay, and they would not have had to resort to panic buying, which is something that happened all over because people go crazy because they don't have their ducks in a row and they're not prepared. And so that affected a lot of people. And I think with regards to magical folks, pagans, whatnot, being prepared takes on different aspects. So yes, let's be prepared on a mundane level. Fall and winter is coming for those of us that live in the northern hemisphere. So what does that mean for us? Well, let's get a winter kit for our vehicle. Make sure we got a shovel in there. Maybe get a tote bin of some sort. Throw in some, maybe a blanket, maybe some candles, maybe throw in a little tin cup, maybe throw in, some granola bars, some chocolate, whatever. Make sure we have booster cables, maybe get our winter tires on our vehicle, maybe go get our vehicle winterized, get an oil change done, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of taking care of that aspect. Another aspect on a more physical, mundane type level is taking an inventory of your mundane, supplies at home. Whether it's paper products, whether it's food, whether it's medicine, that is something that people used to do. My grandparents done it. My mom and I used to do it when we lived out at the farm. We would make sure that we had enough canned food, enough dried food, preserved food, shelf-stable food to last us until the next growing season. My grandmother used to have a big giant garden, and she would make sure that she canned enough food, dried enough food, preserved enough food to last her until the next growing season, and it would feed her family throughout that whole time. Our winters are very long and very cold and dark, so that's really important. You know, it wasn't that long ago where we had a very active role within our own food supply chain. We are so far removed from that nowadays. You know, 6 years ago when I was living at the farm, I mean, there was no plumbing. There was no water pipes in that house whatsoever. There never was. There was an outhouse. There was a hand pump well in the backyard if you wanted water, but we couldn't use that water because our neighbor had cows and contaminated our underground water source with, I don't know, E. coli or some damn thing. So then we used to have to haul water from town. Our heat source was a wood stove that was in the living room, but it was an older wood stove. It wasn't very efficient. So we would have to make sure we had started our gathering our wood supply like in August kind of thing, August, September. By October, we would be fully stocked with enough wood to last us all winter, all spring, because sometimes our springs are long and cold as well. So that is just the way it was. We would start preparing, making sure we had gone out during the summer before, like, going out that summer rather, making sure we had enough sage picked, enough medicines picked and dried to last us until the next growing season. Because the worst thing would be, like, what if we needed sage or sweetgrass or whatever the heck it was and we didn't pick enough, and then, well, maybe it's January or February and maybe something happens and somebody comes to you for help and you're going to go help them, but now you've got nothing. Nowadays, I mean, you can order sage off Amazon. Like, it wasn't like that before. And even then, if you can go and gather your own stuff, I would recommend that before buying commercially, but that's just my own thing. And if you are going to buy from a commercial source, make sure it's like ethically harvested, please. Um, that's important. But anyway, we would start preparing. You know, we would make sure we had our magical supplies and our spiritual supplies, what have you. And we would start gathering that from the summer for that winter. Um, but nowadays, like, not a lot of people do canning. Not a lot of people stock up for the whole winter kind of thing. And because we lived out in the country, and if you ever got snowed in, sometimes the snowplow wouldn't come out for like 3 days. And like, you were screwed if you ran out of insulin, or if you ran out of migraine medication, or if you were a smoker and you didn't have cigarettes. Like, you would be nick fitting. It'd be horrible, right? I've got like cat hair on my eyelash or something. So yeah, it was something that was so commonplace. It was very common practice. It was something that like all the farmers around here would do. The folks that lived out in the country would do it. Even the folks that used to live in town back in the day, you know, they would have big giant gardens and they would do all their canning. How many young people do that nowadays? How many people even grow their own fruit or their own vegetables and preserve it for the winter? Not a lot of people, and not everybody can. Some people live in apartments. Some people don't have balconies. Some people, they don't have that luxury to be able to grow and preserve their own food. But then that just, well, bit my tongue. But that just goes back to the point where that just shows how far removed we are from our food chain. And if there is any kind of disruption, we are immediately impacted, and then we scramble and we panic because, uh-oh, what are we going to do? Luckily for us and my family, because we every fall we do those preparations and we start stockpiling for the winter, and that's something. Even though now we live in town and I can go and turn on a tap and have cold water or hot water, and it's instant, and I don't have to haul water anymore, and I don't have to go and chop wood or haul wood or stockpile wood, because now I've got like natural gas heat and, you know, all this stuff. That practice of still preparing and taking that inventory. What do we need? Okay, let's make sure we have enough dried black beans to last us until next summer. Make sure we have enough to last us till whatever kind of thing. And that's what we do. And that's something that we still do. And we buy it over the course of the year, like over the course of the summer, over the course of the fall, so that there is no panic buying. And then you're always kind of prepared that way, right? So if you do your inventory, we do our inventory in the spring and in the fall, and that's when we get all of our stuff. And so if you can do that, you'd be far better off, you know, and do what you can. You know, maybe on a mundane type level, maybe that means picking up an extra, I don't know, case of canned soup or something, or and just putting that away. And maybe that means the next grocery trip you go on, you pick up an extra, I don't know, pack of diapers, or, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be a whole lot at once, but just make sure you get what you need. Do an inventory, see what you need, see what you already got, and then, you know, budget for that if you can. And dried beans are cheap. They're way cheaper than canned beans. Takes time to prepare. Excellent protein source, excellent food source. You know, they're fairly cheap if you buy it in bulk. You can get like shelf stable foods that can last as long as you properly store them, and things like that. So check out what your medical supplies are like. Check out all that kind of stuff. And that is something that we used to do every spring and every fall, especially in the fall. Because wintertime, the worst thing, like I said, if you ever got stuck or stranded and snowed in, and like you don't want to run out of stuff in the middle of like a crisis like that kind of thing, let alone a global pandemic or whatever. Um, so then you take care of your mundane needs. Now let's move on to doing an inventory of, let's say, your spiritual needs. Do an inventory of yourself, spiritually speaking. What has been working for you, say, the past year, going back to, say, last fall? Has there been any new things you've incorporated into your practice that you really enjoy and really want to keep on with? Have you outgrown any things in your magical practice that no longer jive with you, and maybe you've just outgrown it, and it's not that you don't like it anymore, it's not that you want to disrespect it, but it doesn't fit for you anymore. Do that introspection, take that inventory of your spiritual needs. Are there certain things spiritually that you want to learn about, that maybe you want to grow in certain areas, maybe develop certain skills in certain areas, explore maybe other things, whether it's other belief systems, maybe other traditions, whatever the case might be. Do that inventory, look within, and then you have a plan for this coming year. And that's something maybe you can work on during the winter time. Winter time has always been a time of going within, introspection, doing a lot of whether it's shadow work, doing a lot of internal work on a emotional, mental, spiritual type level. So that is something you can incorporate as part of your practice if you so choose, so that now you've taken care of the mundane, now you've taken care of like the spiritual part of it. What about kind of like the emotional aspect? um, what's been going on in your life, what's been working, what hasn't been working. Maybe there's relationships that have come and gone from your life. you know do you have any emotional wounds you need to deal with or face or heal? Are you in a grieving process? Are you maybe working on some personal development? Maybe you're, I don't know, going back to school and you're taking a course. Are there things you need for that? Do you need to buy books? Do you need to buy paper? Do you like what are you doing on a more emotional, logical kind of level? Or are there things that maybe that you need to address? Maybe it's to do with addictions. Maybe it's to do with your own mental health. Maybe it's to do with family relationships, relationships with friends, whatever the case might be. You might want to look into that area as well. So now you've tackled those 3 areas and you've done that kind of inventory. And I mean, this isn't something you're going to all do in like one day. This will be over a period of time. So give yourself that grace, allow yourself that time. And then on a magical level, what kind of magical supplies do you have? What magical supplies are you low on? What magical supplies are you completely out of? What do you need to get? And then start working at getting those magical supplies in order so that you are prepared should anything happen. It's so easy nowadays to go, I'll just order it online. I'll just order it from Amazon, or I'll just order it from, such and such business online. Well, that's fine and dandy, but what if there is a postal strike and you order it and you paid for it, but then now you gotta wait for 2-3 months before it even shows up, if it even shows up. Stuff gets lost in the mail. That sucks too. So, you might want to start trying to, like, before you completely run out of whatever supply you have, maybe you want to place that order ahead of time and just kind of be more prudent about it, because what if something like that happened? At least this way, you're not waiting until you're completely out of a certain ingredient before you order to replenish that ingredient, right? Yeah, so it's that time of year. Do the inventory. You can do an inventory in just one area of your life, or maybe in the different areas of your life. and just to be prepared. Like I had posted a dream that I had about being prepared back in January of this year. After I had that dream, I had a dream about these animals coming to me. They're like, oh, it was quite a powerful dream. And I done a video of it, kind of a summary of it. I did document it in my journal, but all these animals came. This was during the winter solstice when I had this dream. And they were like the voice of Mother Earth. And they were pissed off. They were so mad at humanity. And they were telling me all the things that they were upset with humans about. How we, the mass destruction, the pollution, all this stuff. We kill indiscriminately. We, strip Mother Earth of resources. There's all these things that are happening on a global, worldwide basis, and Mother Earth is fed up. Animals were fed up, and everything from like, the mass, I won't even get into it. It was just the message was very loud and clear. And then they did tell me to start preparing, start gathering supplies. They told me that there would be this illness and it was gonna like hit globally. Young and old would die, and it didn't matter if you're a good person or a bad person. It didn't matter if you're old or young, rich or poor. It didn't matter what country you lived in. It was going to come to everybody, and a lot of people were going to die. And then they also went on to say that a lot of animals are going to die too. There's going to be massive cleansing worldwide. There would be fires. There would be earthquakes. There's going to be horrendous storms. There's going to be like these natural disasters, and they aren't natural disasters. It's Mother Earth's way of trying to cleanse herself, because humans are like this cancer on the planet kind of thing. And I'm not saying that you yourself are a bad person. I'm not saying that. But it's just this message that these animals had. And it wasn't that like all of humanity, every single human life on this planet was like a bad person. But it was just the overall cumulative destruction that our species has contributed to this planet that they were upset with, and how we forgot our sacred covenant that we had with them, because we were the newest, the youngest life forms to come to the planet, and they were the ones that taught us how to survive and live and all this other kind of stuff. So anyway, it was a very spiritual, very powerful dream. So then after that dream, which was during the winter solstice, I told my family, my friends, the ones that I was close to, and told them, like, if you can prepare, please prepare. This is what's coming, and it's going to be bad, and it's going to be really severe for a lot of folks worldwide. And I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but this is what they said in the dream, and I don't know how it's going to affect us. And like where I live in the middle of nowhere, it's like I thought it would never come here, whatever this was, whatever we were going to face, it was like, we'll be fine, you know. And then everything that they said in that dream started to happen. And I would document in my journal, okay, this is, as well as my grimoire, even, what they said, things that would happen. You think about the horrendous wildfires in Australia, and like the storms that Puerto Rico, it was just so bad. And all stuff was happening all over the world, and people were dying, and like huge amounts of people were dying, and huge amounts of animals were dying. It was like, oh my gosh, this is everything that they said would happen. It was so sad. But then looking at how humanity turned on itself after, and the greed was horrible to see. You know, when you would see shelves stripped bare, when you would see people fighting, literally punching and physically attacking one another over toilet paper. Oh my God. Go wipe your butts with leaves, for crying out loud, if you're going to act like animals like that. And I say act like animals. Animals are more dignified than humans are, and have a hell of a lot more compassion than humans for the most part. Like when I saw like how how bad we as a civilized species reverted, um, collectively, you know, it was disgusting. And it was like, you know what? Let the purge begin. And I'm not saying that I want bad things to happen to people, but it was like, I get it. I totally get where this dream came from and the message and where that message came from. I totally respect it and I understand it and I get it and I agree with it. Yes, humanity has really messed things up. Of course, with the bad, there's always the good too. There are people that are fighting for change. There are people that are trying so hard to help Mother Earth and animals and other people, and they are trying to be compassionate and be very conscious and aware of, you know, what they do and how they contribute to the health of their communities, their families, their environment, and not taking it for granted, and you know, trying to protect it and preserve it, and things like that. So it's not to say that every single person's a bad person. That's not what I'm saying. But yeah, when I saw some of the stuff that the videos of people fighting and punching one another and like duking it out over toilet paper, um, and then the fighting over the food, and then um, people during lockdown, um, just how they would, their anger and their hatred, and how they would turn on people that they perceived as being weak, or less than them, like thinking that you have this right to go up to somebody and like physically attack them or scream at them or like try to hurt their spirit, was absolutely appalling and disgusting to see. Um, and then, you know, these are supposed to be people that are civilized, and they're supposed to be, you know, God-fearing people, and they're supposed to be what, role models? Um, it was really disgusting, and yeah, it made me definitely agree with the message that I got in December. Like, absolutely, I get where this message is coming from, and if this cleansing needs to happen, maybe to kind of teach us a lesson, then so be it. Collectively, you know, not individually. And for those of you who have experienced loss, death in your, you know, with loved ones that have might have gotten sick with this and have passed, this is not to say that I, you know, wish that on anybody, because I certainly don't. And it's not to say that they deserved it or anything like that, not at all. But collectively, I can see where that message was coming from, because when you look at what humans collectively have done for generations now to our planet and to each other and to animals and all the life that we have on here, Mother Earth, we are so much in the wrong, and we need to be held accountable. And if this is the way it's being done, then I I respect that, because I understand that, and I'm not taking it personally. And of course, I mean, if anything should happen to my kids or somebody I loved, I would be devastated. I'm not saying that like, you know, I'd be like, oh well, you know, just didn't need it to happen. You know, of course I would be devastated, as I'm sure you would be if it happened to somebody you loved, you know, your child or your parent or sister, brother, whatever, husband, wife. Um, but then I think we really do need to take an inventory of ourselves globally as a species, and like we really need to open up our eyes and really look at what we've done um, to this planet, because it hasn't been good. But with the bad, there does come the good. And like I've said, there's always been the folks that have, you know, fought for um, this planet and for, you know, the life that's on this planet. And there always will be those people. And there will always be people. This is Trixie. This is my son's cat right here. There'll always be those folks. And to those folks, to me, I consider them to be healers. And to all the healers that are out there, thank you for doing everything that you do, and don't stop. You know, keep at it. This world, our communities, and it starts with each one of us. You know, and it could be something as small as, you know what, helping the disadvantaged in your own community. Go volunteer at a soup kitchen. Make some sandwiches at home and go give them to the homeless people. You know, pick up some litter that you see on the ground and, you know, put it in the garbage. Recycle. Every little bit that you do is better than not doing nothing at all. And you might think, well, what's one little bit of garbage? What's that going to do if I put it in the garbage? Who cares? It's just a little bit of litter on the ground. That one little bit means something, and it's important, because if we all done just one little bit, our world's still better off than not doing anything at all. So yeah. Anyway, that's been a very long rambling video. So go get your supplies in order. Do an inventory of yourself. What supplies do you need? What's working for you? What's not working for you? What's your practice been like? Have you incorporated new things into your practice? Is there new things you want to incorporate into your practice? Have there been things you've outgrown from your practice that no longer suit you and you just don't jive with, you know? So do that inventory, you know. If you live in some place that has snow, please get that winter car kit or whatever in your vehicle. Put a shovel in there, put a blanket in there. Make sure you're safe. If you can get roadside assistance, please do. Get those winter tires on, get your vehicle winterized. Winter's coming, and it's time to prepare, folks. So wherever you are, I hope you're safe. I hope you're healthy. I wish for you to be wealthy. I wish for you to have a life filled with love and adventure and all good things.